はい、おはようございます。こんにちは、こんばんは。柳るかです。今回は、ザ・スタンリー・パラブレラをプレイしていきたいと思います。このゲームなんですが、日本語化対応してないゲームとなっているため、ツイッターの方では書いたんですが、別でね、日本語化パッチを、自分の方で適用したので、若干ね、翻訳ミスとかあるかもしれないですが、よろしくお願いいたします。パラブル。ザ・スタンリー・パラブルってこと？ You are playing the Stanley Parable ってことね。はい、ということで、おにキングさんこんばんは。組長、こんばんは。私服さんこんばんは。いらっしゃい。まゆみさんこんばんは。じゃあやっていきますか。どんなゲームかは多分見ていけばわかります。コントローラーに対応してるからね。
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
リケッツさん、こんばんは。いらっしゃい。来てくれてありがとう。ゆっくりしててください。はい、ということでね、ここからスタートしていくのですが、どういうゲームかっていうとね、このスタンリーさんっていう人が主人公のゲームですね。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
てかさ、めちゃくちゃ古いね。
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
これキーボードの方がいいかな。よいしょ。あ、こっちの方が操作しやすいかもね。スタンリー、そう、スタンリー。誰もいない、本当に。
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
あー、やば。めっちゃ古い PC。あ、なんか押しちゃった。あ。特段いじれないんだ。415。
スタンリ
ーは2つのドアの前に来ました。彼は左のドアに入りましたって。で、はい。ここからがこのゲームのスタートなのですが、このようにね、ナレーターが指示を出すんですよ。こういう動きしましたよとか、こういうことしましたよみたいな。で、それに従って進むか無視するかみたいな。 そうなんですよね。でここからは、ナレーションに合わせてプレイヤーが動くか動かないかみたいなお話になってきます。今回はね、左に進んだということなので、右に進みましょう。
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
戻そうとしてるからね。
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
左側にある最初のドアを通りました。ここってことだよね。はい、無視。残念でした。
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
めっちゃ怒ってる。すごい工事現場だ。ワーリングだって。
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy.
落ちたらどうなるの？
I realize that investing in your... But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
死んでしまった。で、ここからまたスタートなんだ。
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
さっきの扉にたど
When
り着く。
Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
やっぱね、
Wow.
言う通りにはね、
This room.
したく
But
ないよ
eager to
ね
get。back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
ここに入らないといけないけど、無視。
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired
めっ
years
ちゃ文
ago.
句言ってる。
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong
こ
foot
れ
here.
間違うと死んじゃうから。
I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful.
なんかすごい怒ってる。でもよくわかんないね。
I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
開かない。
Now listen carefully, this is important.
赤いドア
Stanley
を通り
walked
ました。
through the red door.
赤いドアか。赤。青だよね。
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked
そう、勘
through
違い
the
しちゃっ
red
た、僕。
door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
やだやだ。
All right, fine.
青いドアがいい、僕。
You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you.
何これ。
There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place.
ジャンプもできない
Broken
んだけ
rooms,
ど。
exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I
何も
did.
できなくなっ
And in
た。
the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game
なんかずっ
better?
と喋っ
What
て
did you
る。
want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we
お
go.
びっくりした。
Good option. This already feels leaps ahead of
なんか
where we were
新しい
before. Go ahead,
扉が開いて
Stanley.
る。
Take it for a spin.
どっちに行くの？ここ？これでいいの？
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new
何これ？
version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
このゲームのレビューをしろってこと？ 1。
A 1? I mean, I can understand if you had reservations, you saw ways the game could be improved to more fully express itself mechanically and artistically, but a 1? That's not even helpful. What am I supposed to do with that? But I guess it isn't my place to judge. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look. Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left.
このゲームで赤ちゃんが炎に向かって左にハイハイしていきます。ボタンを押すと赤ちゃん右に戻ります。赤ちゃんが炎に触れてしまうと負け。なるほど。まのじゃ、僕がずっと前から。
But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience. You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes. Seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot. Well, Stanley, is this any better? At last, the one thing you've always desired. A game I had absolutely nothing to do with. But is it enough? Tell me that, Stanley. Will it ever be enough? Well, I'll say this. I'm done making things for you. From now on, I will only create to fulfill a greater artistic purpose. Watch this, Stanley. I'm going to build a house. This will go here. No, here. And then...
なんか勝手にブロック置かれてるんだけど。
Let's see, what does it need? Yes,
これ邪魔できるかな？
and just to finish it all off,
できないわ。
It's complete. I made this, Stanley. Look at it. Gaze upon my work of art and feel ashamed at your own inadequacy. But you've only seen it from the outside. You've only gotten half the experience. Please, step inside and make yourself comfortable.
タンポポがある。You can't jump っていう。なんか実績解除した。でもすごいこれがっつりマイクラなんだけど。入んないとダメなのかな？
Isn't it grand? Isn't it perfect? It could only be better if... Wait, that's it. We must rebuild it out of diamond. Diamond everything. Yes. Come along, Stanley. We have to go mining.
Huh? これ無視してたらなんか言われるかな？もう開かなくなってる。これ大丈夫なのかな？
Oh my, it looks like it's going to get a bit dark. Have you brought a light?
すごい。
Oh, no. This is far more open-ended than I had in mind. I'm looking for something more narrow and linear. Something that makes you feel utterly irrelevant. This won't do at all. 1 out of 5. Even the diamonds couldn't save this one. Okay, new game.
終わ
Yes, I don't even know what this game is, but I love it. You, trapped in a glass box with no way out, listening to me talk. Oh, it's inspired. I couldn't have done it any better myself. What is this game even supposed to be? I can't figure it out. Okay, now I'm curious. Let's go find out what the hell this is.
多分そうだよね。あ、ポータルだわ。
Critical thinking, Stanley. Your forte. Genius. No, actually, you know what? I think that's plenty. I really don't care much to see
めっちゃ怒ってるじゃん、さっきから。
And I highly...
何このゲーム。真っ暗で何も見えない。あ？ねえ、なんかわかんないね、これ。ホラーゲームみたいになってるけど。明かり。ケネさんこんばんは。いらっしゃい。来てくれてありがとう。ちょっとね、よくわかんないゲームしてます。特に何も触れないの。
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close,
よくわかんないね。
the end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
ローディングだ。ちょっと、最初からなったんだけど。
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned
最初に戻っちゃった。
and constantly needed support and guidance from others. So the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
左に
This
行って
was
さ
not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
左
Perhaps he
側の
wanted
ドア
to
入っ
stop
て
by
み
the
ようか。
employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his
これで
left.
左のドア。
And so he detoured through the maintenance section,
メン
walked
テナン
straight
スは
ahead
ス
to
トイ
the
しない。
opposite door, and got back on track.
ローディングになった。
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go
あれ、閉まっちゃった。
From here, it's, left. Oh, no. No, it's to the right. My
こっ
mistake.
ちがいい。こっち今開けた。開けたとこ行きたいな。ダメ？ダメか。
No, 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 no,
お
not
い、
the
ふざ
right.
けんなよ。どっ
Why
ちで
would
もい
I
いっ
have
て。
ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
早く。
Now, let's see. We went down right.
どっちでもいいよ、僕。
Down, left, right.
Left, right.
Okay, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely
すごい困
this
って
way.
る。何これ。やばいやばい。 ば。
No, 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 no.
何
This
これ。
isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes.
そういうことはたくさんの
Okay, we just have to get back to oh.
スタンリーがいるってことか。
It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time,
監視してる
suppose we
んだ。
don't wander so far off track, hmm? Okay, from the top.
キラコマいらっしゃい、来てくれてありがとう。ゆっくりしててね。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley
めっちゃ怒っ
decided
て
to
る
go
さ
to
っ
the
き
meeting
から
room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait. What? No,
ドアがいっ
no,
ぱい
I
ある。
restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the
なんかいじっ
monitors?
たかも僕。
Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
どっちに行くの？こっち行けないらしい。これ好き。コロコモさんいらっしゃい、来てくれてありがとう。これどっちに行けばいいんだろう。僕ひねくれてるから左の左に行こう。こっちがいいな。お？
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than
何こ
this.
れ？
Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
あれ？
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
やば。マジで。
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
扉がなくなってる。
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
いい椅子だね。何もないか。おほ？ね、隠し要素ありそうだよね、このゲーム。ルプ。
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes.
これ無視できないのかな？ダメっぽい。
No, wait. Never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
返すの？あれ、こんな道だっけ？
Now this... Well, I'll be honest. I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so.
こ
I
こど
can't quite
こ？
recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know
そう
what?
だよね、オフィス
Since
見
I've
るから
completely
さ、
forgotten
全
what we
然
were supposed
知
to
ら
be
ない
doing,
小
how
屋に
about
来ちゃったよ。
this? You win!
You win!
Congratulations! I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off. So, good job.
勝ち？僕の？
Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time.
またリスタートするの？
restart.
すごい。もう
All right,
書いてね。
I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable adventure line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
LINE に従っていけだって。黄色い電話。かわいい。鉛筆削りかな。バイバイ。
No, no, I'm done. We're leaving it up to the line from now on.
めっちゃ怒ってる。この通りに行かないといけないのかな。なんかゲームしてるんだけど。
You see, the line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though,
こっ
who'd
ち。
have thought, wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay. Now, if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
わっ、いけなくしてある。そうめんが出てる。
Cut the music, go back and look at that fern.
シダ?
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell? Oh, no, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
リスタートされちゃった。
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
How about it?
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it. Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
結局これどんなゲームなんだろうね。
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the
こっからま
story
た
is
ス
in
タート
our
か。
control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity.
どっちに行けばいいんだろう。
I believe I need a minute to think here.
左右。
Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere the place where we're trying to
ちなみにね、僕もね、
there
理解
must
し
be
て
a
ないこのゲー
reverse
ム。
door that leads here. And that in turn means that our
いや、
destination
これよかったね。日本語パッチ当てといて。これ英語だけ意味わかんないよ。
So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the
右だっ
correct
て
one.
右。
Another victory for
右が
logic.
正解らしい。
Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
オッケー。左。ダメ？お？
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight
す
times?
ごい書いてるんだ。ナレーターが死
Really
ぬ
how
とか。
all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing.
おお。
Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it?
お
Did we break the cycle?
どうなる
The,
のこれ。
whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So,
てつさん、こんばんは。来てくれてありがとう。今ね、意味のわから
guess
んゲ
now
ー
we
ム
just
してま
wait.
す。
You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime,
びっくりした。びっくりした今。
all of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
また
Stanley
始まった
decided
ん
to
だ
go
け
to the
ど。
meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he
ナレーション
entered
通り
the
に行って
door
み
on
よ
his
う。
left.
かわいそうだから。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase,
え、
Stanley
下も行
walked
けるけど。
upstairs to
絶
his
対
boss's office.
この人の言う通りやってみようか。おお。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an
Piano
indication
garu.
of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number,
2845。
2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
全部言っちゃうんだね。キーパッドなんてあるの？これか。
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs, Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly net, yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway. Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out? Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Oh, system power off.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps
ちゃんとしたストーリーを見せられるとまともなゲームな気が。確かに。
No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Oh, ビート下げ。今のが洗脳エンドらしい。
When Stanley came to a set of two open, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first,
ね、全
just
部
to
過
admire
去
it.
形。
Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first, but eager to get
な
back
ん
to
かね、
business,
たくさん
Stanley took the
エン
first
ディン
open
グ
door
はある
on
ら
his
しいんだ
left.
けど、
And so he detoured through the maintenance section,
ここ通ったもんね。
walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. Yet there was not a single person here
あ、
either.
ここに繋が
Feeling
る
a
んだ。
wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might coming to a staircase.
下に行ってな
Stanley
かったね。
walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it.
し
He
かし、ス
considered
タ
the
ンリーはで
possibility
きま
of
せん
facing
でし
his
た。
boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that.
あ、平さ
And
ん、
in
イラ
such
スト
a
来てくれてあ
competitive
りがとう。
economy,
洗脳さ
why
れ
had
たい
he
の？
taken that risk? All because he believed
エッチな
everyone
ことされ
had
るかも。
vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him
さ
wherever
っ
he
きから
went?
同じとこ
And
ぐ
for
るぐ
that
る回
matter,
ってる。
these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a
I'm
dream.
dreaming.
Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical star field, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
登場します。変わったんだけど。スタンリーじゃなくなったよ。
Dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew.
Crazy.
Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
まあね、こんな感じのゲームでたくさんねエンディングがまだあるらしいので、気になる方はねぜひ自分ではやってみてください。なんか始まりが違うね。
When Stanley came to a set of two open, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
はい、ということでまあこんな感じでね、今日の配信を終わろうかな。
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
いつも通りね、今約1時間くらいをいつもね予定してるので、よかったらね、また次の配信、だって終わろうとしたけど、なんか変わってるんだけど。
When Stanley came to a set of two open, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
終わるなってことなのかな。
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that but in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful. Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting. Was it a painting or a photo? He could no longer recall. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
はい、ということで、本日はね、ご視聴いただきありがとうございました。まあね、9月からちょっといろいろ忙しくなるんですけど、ね、いろんな配信とかもね、頑張っていこうと思ってるので、よかったらね、よろしくお願いいたします。で、新衣装のファンアートとかもたくさん募集してるので、よかったらね、依頼とかしてくれると嬉しいです。できさんいらっしゃい、来てくれてありがとう。
I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley.
あれすばこっち側行ってないの？
Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself.
最後にこっち行ってみて。
I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
それはこっち僕行ってないもん。
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside.To let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly... Oh, no, you can't... Did you just unplug the phone? Well, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly.
面白いね、多分ね、これたくさんエンディングあるからさ、ぜひみんなもやってみてね。
It's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world.
次の配信でお会いしましょう。バイバイ。
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Stephen has a choice. He could spend years helping improve the quality of life for citizens of impoverished third world nations. Or he could systematically set fire to every orphan